Good evening. Welcome to one more edition of the Kabbalah of Time. We are week 23, the week of Moshe Rabbeinu's yard site, Yom Hilula, and also his birthday, same day, 7th of Adar. That's coming up soon. Today was day 2 of week 23, and we're doing book 2. The elements of book 2 again are Hazinu, the Haftorah for Hazinu, the quality to acquire the Torah, the prophet, and the Levitical city. So Hazinu, it says, I will link evils upon them. I will use up my arrows on them. So it has a kind of a negative connotation, right? But again, it can be interpreted as applying to the enemies of the Jews, such as Amalek. This month again, very connected to the destruction of Amalek. And Rashi also hints at something interesting that it says, I will use up my arrows on them. Right? The arrows, Rashi is interpreting this usual way, that this is referring to the Jewish people, that the arrows will be used up, but the Jewish people won't. And just like how the temple was destroyed, and Hashem took out his anger on stones, right? Then instead of on the Jewish people themselves. But anyway, so there is this connection of this idea of evil. I will link evils upon them. Right? The idea that again, Amalek is quintessential evil. And it's our job to completely destroy Amalek. So the Haftorah is more positive. The 23rd line in the Haftorah is, for all his ordinances were before me, and as for his statutes, I did not depart from them. And yeah, so it's a more positive note, and it can, though it's used for before me, where it says, for all his ordinances were before me, the word is lenegdi, or it can be interpreted even as lenegdai, spelled the same way. Which is right there, towards those that are against me. Meaning that the Torah is what protects the Jewish people against those that are against us. And ultimately, right, it is the Torah, the commandment to destroy Amalek is there, and there was the wrong interpretation of the Torah that actually prevented Shaul from destroying Amalek in the first place during his time. In terms of the quality of the Torah, it's with slowness to anger, erech apayim. So that one seems very much tied to Moshe, right? Because it was in Moshe's merit, right, that the Jewish people were saved, and the 13 principles of attributes of mercy of God, right, of erech apayim. Erech apayim means slowness to anger, and that's mentioned as one of the 13 attributes of mercy, erech apayim. That was in Moshe's merit, right? The fact that he stood up for the Jewish people and gained these 13 principles that kind of always now, from then on, always stand to protect the Jewish people in moments of crisis. That was all because of Moshe. And Moshe's passing is also related to that, because it got to the point where Moshe one small mistake, right, when he was told to speak to the rock, said he struck the rock. So that was, arguably a lack of erech apayim, a lack of slowness to anger. That Moshe got angry and hit the rock instead of speaking to it. That's ultimately why he passed away and was not allowed to enter the land of Israel. This week's prophet is Hoshea. I'm not sure exactly how I said it. Hosea. Anyway, in Hebrew it's Hoshea, and he also, his prophecies are very much related to this characteristic. It so happens that the Daf Yomi for today, this year, for the 4th of Adar, today the Daf Yomi page was about Hoshea, and the fact that when Hashem spoke to him about the sins of the Jewish people, that at first he did not speak up in their defense, and then because of that mistake, Hashem makes him marry a harlot and have children with a harlot, and then say, okay, now leave her. So I can't leave. I have children with her. How do you want me to leave her? And then God says, well, how do you want me to leave the Jewish people? It's a much deeper connection. And ultimately, according to the Radak, this whole thing is just a part of the prophecy that he never actually married a harlot. But anyway, there's tremendous amount of mercy that it comes from this lesson of the extent of God's mercy for us, and how he ultimately, from all these sins and all the bad behavior that we did do, ultimately all those decrees about us, all the decrees that were said in those times are reversed, and God will show his tremendous love for us and compassion. The last one is the Levitical city for this week is Hamot Dor, the springs of Dor. So it happens that you could go today to Israel, you could look it up, Dor or Chof Dor. There's a beach there, there are springs. It's like in Tiberias, so today is also a place where the springs are still there, and it's kind of a little bit of a resort place in parts of Tiberias and Dor also. And I think there's a similar idea there too, because especially with Tiberias, I know that the springs are a reference, this heat that comes from underground. It's kind of related to the fires of Gehinnom, and which are an expression of God's anger. And that somehow that heat is then transformed into something that is positive. So I think that kind of wraps up this week. I have here a note that says Dor comes from the word home, or ladur, right? Dar comes from to dwelling place. So the idea of transforming this anger into something that is positive, domesticated, so to speak. Okay, so that's it for today. Have a wonderful rest of your week.